Andrea Pezzini, you are the director of the Sinagoga del Agua in Úbeda. What is that?
Well, exactly so. I'm in charge of the management of this place since it opened to the visitors in February 2010. It is a very special space in the old town of Úbeda, which only practically 14 years ago was still inhabited. There were several families living here, even a hairdresser shop. And at that point, around 2007, a local entrepreneur into the estate promotion, estate construction, bought the whole corner in order to practically pull everything down and develop 11 apartments, shops, and parkings.
Yeah, because the idea wasn't that this was going to be a synagogue.
Absolutely not, effectively. Then, obviously, when this promotion started and the promoter started to pull ceilings and walls, we discovered arches, columns, capitals, cellars, and at that point, incredible but true, an entrepreneur, instead of the typical shut up, don't say anything, they will spoil our business, he did exactly the opposite. And his name is Mr. Fernando Crespo and his family, and they are really the responsible for the discovery of this medieval synagogue.
So they decided to hire you and to install what is considered to be a synagogue from the 13th century?
Exactly that. So I've been working in the world of heritage, tourism, museums since I arrived in Úbeda in 1994. I got my own company offering different services, and then the family Crespo Lopez, they came looking for me, for my experience, to be responsible, to be in charge, to direct this place. So we consider that what we have discovered is a medieval synagogue around the 13th, 14th century with several rooms, some of them very, very, very special, with the peculiar also information that practically the house next to this one is the house of the Inquisition. So imagine that situation. What are you talking about? Inquisition next to a Jewish synagogue? Well, yes. When was that? When did it happen? Well, we are pretty sure that after 1492, when the Jews were forced to leave Spain or to convert. And we also know that some inquisitors have Jewish roots, were conversos, were new Christians, right? And obviously they knew what was here, and basically they would expropriate, they will occupy this place, or eventually even keep it for secret liturgy. We don't know. But definitively it was a major surprise, and the space, a part of that connection to the Inquisition house, also preserves the big synagogue room, where rituals, of course, were held. It preserves the very important woman's gallery, and then obviously next the house where we believe that the rabbi would have lived with different Jewish symbols in its walls, and then some other more conventional spaces like the kitchen, like the cellar, where we still have big, big jars, where in the past we used to produce much more wine than olive oil in this area, so they were meant for wine.
But the name is Sinagoga del Agua, the water synagogue. How come?
Well, obviously because in the big synagogue room we have 7 wells. 2 of them are very alive and still have natural water. But then the most important, of course, the most important reason to name it Sinagoga del Agua, Synagogue of the Water, is this place, is this room where we are. This is underground, several meters underground, and there is a sort of secret passage to reach this room underground, and we finally realized that this is the mikveh.
Yes, this is quite unique. There are just a few of them in the whole world. What is a mikveh?
Well, mikveh is a ritual bath. It's a bath meant for purification in the Jewish culture, in the Jewish religion. So to make it simple, there are several conditions, of course, for the mikveh to be used, to be valid, to be kosher in some ways. The most important condition is that the natural water must be spring water, must be alive, must be constantly renovated. So in this case, even if we do not see movement in this water, believe me, this is constantly filtered and renovated to the rock and the floor. That is point one. Point two, the volume of water. It must be, the rules say, it must be enough to cover an adult body in a fetal position. Consequently, this is 65 centimeters deep. Enough then for an adult person to go in there and to get this ritual bath, which normally in the Jewish tradition will be used on Friday's afternoon before sunset, so consequently before Shabbat, or before important religious festivities, especially by Jewish women, before their weddings, after giving birth, after menstruation. So that is the idea of a purification. It is spiritual. Right? It hasn't got any hygienical purposes. It is a concept of spiritual cleaning, which is in and out 3 times.
But this mikveh is also related to a special phenomenon, something that was discovered purely by chance, and that is now one of the most spoken things that happen in Ubeda once a year, right?
Exactly so, exactly so. Then, as you say, different chances, absolutely lucky circumstances that we have preserved this room, that we have preserved a space through which the light goes through the original entrance to the synagogue. Even the wall with our neighbors was not raised to the point that we would have missed this special phenomenon called summer solstice. So that is the very special moment. We live here once per year around the 21st of June, of course.
Yes, you just celebrated your 10th anniversary. And this is a museum, but it's also a very active place. I know that many congregations of Jews come from all over the world, and you also organize cultural events, right?
Exactly so. This in some ways adds to Ubeda, to our World Heritage city, a new argument, a new reason, a new excuse to come and visit us, the Jewish legacy, the Sephardic legacy. We open practically every single day, and we only do guided tours, so nobody comes here and moves around by himself. We understand, it's my opinion, in the concept of organization, that you need to be explained, you need to be taken, and this place needs to be interpreted by somebody. So that is what we do with absolutely every visitor that comes to the Sinagoga del Agua. And then don't conceive this under the strict point of a religious place, which is not. We are not Jewish, there is no Jewish community in Ubeda, there is no rabbi, but that doesn't mean that whenever there is a Jewish family, a Jewish person, or a Jewish community that asks us to use this place for some of their rituals, everybody is very welcomed, so that we have had different religious, very deep, moving moments here. As an example, a wedding. As an example, different when you convert into Judaism, right? And the mikveh, its concept of purification. We have had several persons. Obviously, that is very intimate, private moment, and no public at that time. But people who come on purpose to Ubeda to use the mikveh for their purification. The last person who used this is a girl that lives in Costa Blanca, next to Alicante, and she's Jewish, and she was getting married just a few months ago, and before her wedding she came and asked us to use the mikveh, and she was very welcomed, of course, and she was allowed to use it.
They must be very brave, because it's quite chilly, the water.
It is chilly, but then, well, when you believe in something, doesn't matter the temperature of water, and she and different other persons have been using this with no problem. And then, as you were saying, of course, the cultural activity. So it is not only open to visitors every day, but we constantly organize basically concerts, which is what we mainly do, but also book presentation, poetry sections, and well, all kind of cultural events into this very, very special place. So we are already into all the important cultural festivals organized in Ubeda, like the Flamencos and Mestizos, the International Music and Dance Festival, the Early Music Festival, the International Poetry Meeting, the Storytelling Festival. Every one of those festivals have at least one of their events organized in this Sinagoga del Agua.
And of course, especially your midsummer program, which is for more than a week.
Yes, this summer solstice program, program, which normally is enriched with very special presentations to the solstice. The solstice we live in here around the end of June is a very, 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 very special moment, and also we can, in some way, say, interpret it in many different ways. So our presentations are different depending on, well, which day and the different years. So you can have somebody who introduces the solstice under the astronomic, the scientific point of view.
Yes, and of course this is something that we are so thankful for, that we're going to share with all our viewers, with the recommendation that whenever they can, they just have to come to Úbeda to visit the Sinagoga del Agua and of course the rest of this marvelous city.
Well, thank you very much, of course. My gratitude for you, and in my personal name, of course, but also in the name of the family that have discovered and preserved this place, and in the name of the city of Úbeda, which, as you know, it is beautiful. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, famous for its Renaissance constructions and heritage. But then, since we are here, also we have introduced this legacy from the Sephardic times, and of course, every one of your watchers and your visitors, of course, is welcome to Úbeda.
Thank you.
Thank you to you.